Do you think it's possible to narrow down to just a few categories what some of the key things are that cause us daily worry and lack of peace of mind? The things that are the root of so many of the anxieties and troubles and strife between different people throughout the world. The Talmud certainly thinks so. Pirkei Avot, which I highly encourage all of you to study, which is a section of the Talmud which deals with ethical behavior and ethics more generally in Judaism. And they say there are three things that remove someone from the world. And what they mean by that is, or at least one meaning of that, is that remove someone's peace of mind. And they list three things. I'd be interested for you guys to think before you even hear the answer what those things might be. What is it that takes away peace of mind from each of us? And they list three categories, three root categories: jealousy, ego, or seeking sort of respect or recognition from others, and lust, or desires. Specifically, I think it means physical desires, whether it's for food, money, sex. The Talmud believes these three things are what can cause a person to completely go insane and actually lose control of their life, lose control of the direction of their life and control over their potential, because they get so drawn into these things. And when it says gets removed from the world, I think it means in all senses: physical world, spiritual, everything. As I mentioned in one of our previous videos, I'm a bit of a Harry Potter nerd, and I saw this meme online which had one of the professors, Professor McGonagall, saying to Harry and his two best friends, Ron and Hermione, "Why is it always you three?" And in this case it had listed jealousy, lust and ego, which I thought was quite funny. All right, the truth is I actually made the meme myself, but that's not the point. Anyway, so think about your own life and some of the things that cause you anxiety and distress and you know, lack of satisfaction and contentment. And then think about these categories and see if you think there's any truth to this. I don't believe, by the way, that the Talmud is saying all anxieties and everything can be categorized. I'm not sure, I don't think that's what they're saying, but they're saying a lot of things. And certainly these are three things that if you are plagued by them, you don't have peace of mind in life. So the question is, how can they be dealt with? I think there's a pragmatic answer, and then there's a spiritual and more deeper Jewish answer. Let's start with the pragmatic side. First of all, pragmatically, when it comes to jealousy, for example, I wish I had what this person has. You know, I think we're particularly plagued by that today with social media and the distorted reality that we see projected on social media. The truth of the matter is we only know a fraction of what that person that we're jealous of has in their life. And there's a whole other parts of their life that we don't see, that's not so perfect, that's not so rosy. Everyone has a package deal in life, and that's one thing to recognize when it comes to jealousy, and that can burst our bubble sometimes. Then moving to ego and wanting the recognition and attention of other people. The truth of the matter is that you're actually putting yourself in a very vulnerable position when you're making your sense of self-worth and self-esteem based on how other people perceive you. It's really a stupid way, because making yourself entirely vulnerable and your sense of self-worth entirely vulnerable to the whims of how other people are feeling about you, how any one person feels about you. It's a very, very vulnerable and silly position to be in. Your sense of self-worth should come from yourself. And if you do put yourself in that position where every single comment someone says and everything, you're going to end up, it's just not smart to live like that and to base your sense of self-worth that way. And the other thing to recognize is that usually goodness doesn't need, being a good person, doing good, if you do the right thing and you feel like, but I want to get recognition for this, goodness doesn't need attention being drawn to it. It's just people can see it. Over time, people recognize goodness and good people and they're drawn to that. And it doesn't, if you think about the real greats in this world or people that you consider to be really good, they don't actively try and draw attention to themselves. They just, good people are drawn to them. And then lastly, when it comes to physical desires, on a purely pragmatic level, the Talmud also says somewhere else that a person leaves this world with only a fraction of their desires fulfilled. If you base your life around how much desire can I fulfill, how much of my lusts and my urges and my desires, if life is purely about just satisfying those desires, then you will never be satisfied, because there's always more, there's always something else, and that's the nature of it. You get one hit and then it's gone. You're on a diet and you eat that one brownie, but then it only lasts for a few seconds. And it's just not it will lead to a life that goes out of control, one that's based on just pure pleasure, satisfaction, and desire, if that's the only metric for how you're going to sort of operate and make decisions in life. as opposed to making decisions based on what's wise, what's good for you and for the world. And also there's an anxiety that comes with that. If everything in life becomes about just satisfying urges and desires, then you can't think clearly, and you can't make good decisions that are good for you and good for others, because sometimes there are more important things in life than instant gratification, and that's doing good and doing the right thing. And they sometimes they go in tandem, they feel great and they're good, but sometimes they don't. And it is a higher value and higher priority, and actually leads to a deeper sense of satisfaction. But that's a practical way of dealing with these three things. But what about on a deeper spiritual level? The deeper spiritual truth is this, that if you have a relationship with God, with a higher being that you believe governs your life and governs everyone's lives and gives everyone what they need, the blessings and the challenges, then jealousy becomes stupid. Because why be jealous of something? That's not what you need to fulfill your potential and make the most of yourself and make the most of your life. It's irrelevant what someone else has. That's not for you. I find it fascinating that that's one of the 10 commandments. The 10th of the 10 commandments is don't be jealous. Clearly this is a very important principle. Then when it comes to ego and needing attention of others and all that kind of stuff for your self-esteem, if you understand that you're loved by God and you have an infinite value, a value in this world, a unique value in this world, then you're a lot less vulnerable to the sort of perceptions of other people and the attention and the words of other people, because you're interested in doing the right thing and knowing that the creator of the universe sees you, values you, and that's where you get your sense of self-worth and pride from. And by the way, it's totally natural to some extent care and need the recognition of other people and have to be surrounded by good people. But the point is, usually speaking, you shouldn't need to be in a desperate state of crippling anxiety where you're vulnerable to every single comment, and that's what sort of you base your decisions around. Another part of the ego also is wanting to be in control of life and getting frustrated when things don't go your way, even if it's not about respect of other people. But there is a bit of an ego element to it, which is thinking, I know what's best, I know what's right, as opposed to surrendering to God and turning to God for help. And lastly, when it comes to physical desires, Judaism is not against physical desires. It just wants them to be channeled in the appropriate way and moderated, and it believes actually that's the best way to get the best out of physical pleasures in this world. And the truth is, with God in the picture, then you believe and recognize that ultimately whatever comes your way or whatever doesn't, that's God's business. God can decide, and you trust that God will bless you. We want everyone to be blessed with a life of happy marriage, family, career, success, and all the rest of it. But when you sort of surrender and recognize that my job is to do the right thing, and I pray that God provides me with these things, and that's really in his department, because the truth is ultimately we can't control our lives and the amount to which our desires are fulfilled or not fulfilled that much. It's not saying I don't want the things that I desire, but it's saying that ultimately those things are something that God will provide for me. And therefore I turn to him and trust him. So there we go. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about these sort of 3 root causes of so much anxiety and lack of peace of mind, whether you think it's true, whether not. Perhaps you can share some of your own personal reflections and experiences on this. Please just consider writing a comment in the comment section of this YouTube video, and I'll try to get back to you guys. I'm Ollie Annisfeld, and you're watching JTV.